All right, the latest inflation numbers are out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and let's just say this month's report has a pretty big surprise inside. We're going to break down the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, which is basically the average price change for all the stuff we buy.
So, right out of the gate, the big story here is that inflation, well, it did something nobody really saw coming. After several months of being pretty steady and predictable, the new data just threw a massive curveball.
And here it is. This is the number that has everyone talking. A 0.9% jump in a single month. Now, I know that might not sound like a lot, but trust me, when we're talking about the economy, that is a huge leap. It signals something big is going on.
And just to put that into perspective, take a look at the last few months. We've been cruising along at a pretty tame 0.2, maybe 0.3% increase, and then, bam! March just skyrockets to 0.9. This isn't just a little bump. It's literally 3 times the inflation rate from the month before.
So the big question is, where on earth did this surge come from? To really get it, we've got to look inside that 0.9% number. And it turns out, the whole story really starts at one place, the gas pump.
You know, the CPI tracks hundreds and hundreds of different items we buy, but this entire month's inflation spike, it basically comes down to the crazy impact of just one single category.
And that category, it's energy. The overall energy index shot up by a whopping 10.9% in just 1 month. That is a huge increase, and it's our first big clue as to what's really going on here. But we can drill down even further.
Because inside that energy number, the index for gasoline alone surged an absolutely incredible 21.2% in March. Let me say that again, 21.2%. I mean, that is just a staggering number for a single month.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics says it plain as day. Think about that for a second. Out of everything, food, rent, clothes, you name it, the price spike at the pump was responsible for almost 3/4 of the entire inflation number.
Now, just to round out the picture, it wasn't only gasoline, though that was the main event. Fuel oil prices also went wild, jumping over 30%. Electricity ticked up just a little bit. But, and this is interesting, the price of natural gas actually went down. So even within the energy sector, this story was overwhelmingly about fuel.
Okay, so a massive spike in energy prices drove that headline number through the roof. But what happens if we just take those crazy volatile prices out of the equation? Well, to find that out, economists look at something called core inflation.
It's actually a pretty simple idea, but it's super powerful. See, because food and energy prices can swing like crazy from month to month, thanks to things like global events or even just the weather, economists like to strip them out to get a better feel for the underlying, more stable trend in the economy. This core number is often what policymakers watch really closely.
Okay, so are you ready for this? The core inflation number for March was just 0.2%. Let that sink in. The headline number that grabbed all the attention was 0.9%. But once you pull out food and energy, the increase was only 0.2%. That's much more in line with what we'd been seeing.
And this really shows you what was happening everywhere else in the economy. It's a way more balanced picture, right? Sure, some things like airline tickets and clothes got a bit more expensive. But on the other hand, other big categories like medical care and used cars actually got cheaper. The takeaway here is, without that massive energy shock, the rest of the economy was actually pretty stable.
Okay, we've been looking at this one wild month, which is fascinating. But to get the real story, you always have to zoom out and look at the trend over the entire year. How does this one spike fit into the bigger picture?
And wow, you can really see the difference here on this chart. That blue line, that's the headline inflation, the one with everything included. Look how it just goes nuts, shooting straight up in March. But then look at that maroon line. That's core inflation. See how much smoother and steadier it is? It's like they're telling 2 completely different stories. And here are the numbers behind those 2 lines. Over the last year, that jumpy headline inflation is running at 3.3%. But the core number? That's way lower, at 2.6%. It just hammers home how much those really volatile categories are skewing the main number that we hear.
So, we've sliced and diced the numbers, we've looked at the month, we've looked at the year. Let's bring it all together and ask the most important question: what's the big takeaway from all of this for you?
If you remember just one thing from all this, make it this. The big, splashy headline inflation number you see on the news,